Hello, everybody. This is Rabbi Marcus Rubenstein again for Rabbi Raskas Hot Takes Day, the 14th of Tishrei. It's our 8th episode. So excited to be back, and thank you for those who have followed online and started liking the episodes and commenting on it. Just wonderful. Our title today is called "Comfort is No Crime," and goes like this, according to Rabbi Raskas. A rabbinical student once came to a renowned rabbi and asked to be ordained as a rabbi. The rabbi inquired about his daily conduct, and the candidate replied, I always dress in black, I drink only water, I place tacks on my shoes for self-mortification, I roll in the snow, and I order the synagogue caretaker to give me 40 stripes daily on my bare back. Just then a black horse entered the courtyard, drank water, and began rolling in the snow. Observe, said the rabbi, this creature is black. It drinks only water, it has nails in its shoes, it rolls in the snow, and it receives more than 40 stripes a day. Still, it is nothing but a horse. Again, one of Rabbi Raskas' beautiful stories here. And now he continues with his teaching. Judaism rejects the concept of needless self-torture as a means to attaining a high level of religious feeling. Instead, it urges man to take freely of the goodness, the pleasures, and the comforts of the world, for these too are part of God's gifts to man. In fact, some comfort is essential to a wholesome life. To read requires that one be seated comfortably. The growing child needs the comforts of family life for his emotional security. A person must have a comfortable income, for when a man is in dire financial stress, he needs money and not just sympathy. The comforts afforded by every good food deepen the worthwhileness of life. Every human being has the right to comfort, for comfort is no crime, but is essential to living a full life. He quotes Brachot 57b here. Pleasant sounds, sights, and smells put one in a good spirit. So here's a basic agreement, I think, that a disagreement that Rabbi Raskas and I seem to have. And I've seen this come up in his teachings many times. And we very much disagree on pleasure and the place pleasure has within human life. I think for Rabbi Raskas, over and over again, he seems to preach that it is central. Pleasure seeking and deriving pleasure, enjoying oneself, and is so central. You can see it from his words here, to take freely of the goodness of the earth and the comforts of the world. He actually even goes on to say the comforts afforded by every good food deepen the worthwhileness of life. It's strange and that food somehow is good food is it makes life worthwhile. I mean, you can say that as a joke, but I think for me, Rabbi Raskas certainly has a point here when he says that Judaism doesn't say that hurting oneself or denying oneself pleasure is a good in itself, and that I would certainly agree with him. Judaism. Really throughout the Talmud, rabbinic literature, really never says that hurting oneself or self-denial, unless on something like Yom Kippur, of course, is a good in itself. But where I disagree with Rabbi Raskas is that it is a means to an end. It does serve a purpose. Why? Because pleasure is addictive, right? And we can become, the more pleasure we engage in, the more we enjoy it, and the more it starts to become more and more central to our life, the engagement in the pursuit of pleasure. And we pursue pleasure beyond, it's easy to pursue pleasure beyond any other goal, whether it's sexual pleasure, food pleasure, what have you. And that should not be the central task of our life. And you have to be very careful when dealing with an addictive substance like pleasure, right? And so if you can engage in pleasure once in a while and enjoy it and then go back to living a moral life and living a responsible life, a life of service, that's wonderful. But a lot of times, we can't do that. That it's just too addictive, right? But in the end, and so in that case, right, we should practice self-denial, right, and not have too much pleasure all the time and seek pleasure all the time. Why? So that we don't run our life by the pursuit of pleasure, but rather of the service of God, right? That is the point of everything, to serve God, to be of service, to do good in the world, and not become addicted to pleasure seeking. And when we take freely of the earth, as he says, Humans are liable to abuse the pleasure, eat too much, do things, evil things in the name of their own sexual libido, and what have you, right? But we should be more concerned about what God's objectives are in this world, which is for us to do mitzvot and to do goodness, to do acts of loving kindness, to care for each other. That should be where we derive our joy from, not from the simple comforts. And lastly, one of my pet peeves in general is that he finally goes on to say here that each human being actually has a right to comfort, right? And that's not true. We don't have rights as human beings. I mean, the American government gives us rights, which is wonderful, and we build that as a community. But there are no natural rights that human beings have, right? We're not really owed anything by God. We're given this world completely as a free will offering. No, there's no rules that what we get. I mean, we try to build a society where we have rights and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but those are certainly not inalienable rights. It's the most ridiculous term in the world. We're trying to build a society that's modeled around not taking those rights away from people, and calling them rights, but they're very easy to take away from people. They go away very, very quickly. No one is promised or guaranteed comfort. It's certainly not a right. So that is one of my areas where Rabbi Raskas and I really agree here, of course, is that hurting oneself and not engaging in pleasure just for the sake of not engaging in pleasure is not beloved by God, but rather it's a means of controlling oneself, and controlling one's, so that one does good and one pursues good as the foremost thing they pursue, not comfort or pleasure, etc., etc. Well, I hope you enjoy this. We're not going to talk for a couple of days because the Sukkot holiday starts tonight and I can't use the phone or record anything. So we'll come back together in 2 days on Monday for our next Rabbi Raskas Hot Take. Thank you, everybody, and Chag Sameach, everybody. Moedim l'simcha.